Let's get started today talking on our topic of creating Black wealth. Today's session is so dynamic because we're talking about ownership being the new Black. Ownership being the new Black is all about, again, creating wealth. And with that as our backdrop, we have so much that we can continue to forge ahead with during this session this afternoon. So we are going to look at creating Black wealth and the pursuit of being financially free. Now, our objective for this session, we'll be looking at, we'll be talking about the racial wealth gap. And we'll be looking to provide some tools that will help close those gaps and also be able to present you with some changes that we have to make as individuals in order to accomplish that goal of closing that wealth gap. So our objective this afternoon, again, is going to be, if hopefully you can see the screen, and the screen is showing you that money mentality. We're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be looking at the Black community and the struggles and stress that we face and why. Why do we face the struggle? What is it that's making our Black community struggle so hard? And then we're going to look at some of the top concerns in the Black community, and then how to go about building wealth and assets and components necessary to build a strong financial foundation. We're going to examine all of that this afternoon. Now, when we look at money mentality, it all starts with a mindset. The discussion we had earlier today was all about mindset, changing the way we think, changing the way we do things. So again, when you think of that mindset, quite often a lot of experiences that we've had that we carry forth today happen from our early childhood. So what we have to look at is how those experiences impacted us and how we need to make some changes today in order to move forward. So when we think of the mindset, a critical component of wealth building in our community is also about changing the mindset. We have to make sure we acknowledge and understand the emotions that we associate with money. Because when we think of money, quite often we think of working hard at a job, making sure that we retire and we have a pension or something at that job. We never think of it from the perspective of ownership, making that money work for us. So we have to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that these are emotional undercurrents that impact our lives. So now let's start with our mind. When we think of our mind, what is actually on your mind? When we start thinking about what's on our mind, we may be able to sit and think, okay, what actually happened to us that made it so difficult for us to make any changes? So let's think about how the mind works and how the mindset works. So when you're first starting out in your career, you have a different set of values. You're thinking about money totally differently. You're thinking about, okay, maybe getting that first job and accumulating funds. But as you start becoming more and more established in your life stage, your mindset is going to be different. It's going to start to change to reflect that. Also, as you become more financially secure, that is also going to be reflected in how you actually think, and your financial future is totally different in the goals that you place. So again, we're thinking about what's in our mind, and we're thinking about, as we go through these different stages of our life, how our mindset should be changing to adapt to those different stages. And protecting retirement and our legacy is probably the mindset of that person who is now ending their career. They're about to exit the market. So their mindset is going to be totally different than the individual who is just coming into the marketplace. So again, we have to make sure that we understand that during the course of our life cycles, if our mindset does not change, we cannot change. And we have to also understand that because we have the different objectives during these different life stages of ours, that means our goals should be totally different. So now let's look at what it means to create a financial strategy that we can now implement to help us to change that mindset and change how we do things. So creating a financial strategy is very, very important, because when you look at creating a financial strategy, you want to make sure you understand there's a difference between wealth and having riches. Building wealth is something that was mentioned earlier in our session today. It's a process. It's not something you do overnight, and it's not something that all of a sudden you get a lot of money and now you can afford to buy things. No, that's not about building wealth. Also, the financial strategy starts with income. So when we start looking at income, we have to make sure that we are consistent in the source of income coming in and out of our household. We have to also make sure we have that income sources. We talked about that. That was mentioned earlier today in the session. Income sources should be more than your paycheck. It should be entrepreneur income. Your passion. What do you do as a passion? Everyone should have at least, I heard in the presentation earlier today, 5 sources of income. How many of us have 5 sources of income? One person in the room. How many of us have 4 sources of income? So see, we tend to be satisfied with the salary or the career income coming in, and we don't think about the opportunity to have income coming in from our passion, that entrepreneur spirit, or income coming in our case. Not often do we receive an inheritance, but we may receive an inheritance from a relative. Income can also consist of pension and Social Security, retirement income. But these are different sources of income that we look at when we start thinking about building a strong financial foundation. As we look at the income, we next have to look at savings. What type of saving strategy do we want to put in place? That saving strategy can and it must include not only saving, but you must also be investing. Because if you are not investing, you are not saving. Saving does not build wealth. So you must save regularly, and you must also make sure that when you are saving, you pick some type of saving strategy that is going to meet your particular needs. Next, we look at paying yourself first. You may hear that term a lot, but that basically is saying you have to identify the fact that before you go spend money on any discretionary expenses like buying a cup of coffee or maybe going out to dinner, you should maybe consider putting that money aside towards your retirement, a long-term goal such as your retirement. Save that same amount of money to go towards your retirement, and then in that way, you are now paying yourself first. Or if you're participating in your employer 401k, a 403b plan, you are paying yourself first. Allow that money to accumulate, so as you pay yourself first, you can see that putting as little as $25 aside over 25 years, just by paying yourself first, can accumulate to $55,000 in 25 years. So you can start small, and as you put more, you can see the amount can be $276,000 just by saving $125. So get in the habit, change our mindset, and look at ways that we can actually make sure we pay ourselves first. Now, when we looked at income and we looked at savings. Now, let's look at the importance of credit reports. When it comes to credit, there's the 5 C's in credit. Your credit report is your character report. It's an indication to your creditors, to your employer, to your utility companies of how your financial behavior is when it comes to actually have given you monies, whether it's in the form of a loan or whether it's in the form of you applying for a student loan, if you're applying for an apartment, it shows your credibility. So the 5 C's of credit involves your character. It also looks at your, not only does it look at your character, but it also looks at your capital. It also looks at, and when I say capital, I mean the resources that you may have available that you can put up against any type of loan that you're looking to get, such as if you have a savings account, that's considered capital. If you have an investment in a mutual fund, that's considered capital. So when you have that available, that can sort of offset some of the burden of you applying for credit. Also, your capacity. The lender looked at your capacity to pay. What is your debt to income ratio? How much debt do you currently have? How much against your income? They look at that when they analyze your capacity to pay. And then you have collateral. Well, collateral is used as another source of reference when you have looked to borrow something, whether it's a home and you look for a mortgage, or you purchase a car and you look to put the car up as collateral. That's collateral. If you do not meet that obligation, they can foreclose on your home or they can take the car back. That's collateral. And then the 5th form of the C in credit is condition. Sometimes you cannot control all the conditions that may pertain to you, such as they look at your income, they look at what your salary is. Those are all factors that go into coming up with your credit. And your credit score is very important as well. Your credit score is usually a 3-digit number, and it can be anywhere from 300 to 800. And understand, the lower that credit score is, that means when you apply for any type of credit, you're going to pay a higher APR. You're going to pay a higher interest rate. So you always want your credit score to be as close to 800 or in the middle as possible. So those are the 5 C's when it comes to credit. And credit, again, is provided by 3 major credit agencies: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And all of you are entitled to what's called an annual free credit report. A credit report is very good for you to at least look at once a year, because what it will allow you to do is to see if there's been any type of discrepancy. Has anyone set up an account using your information? Do you have an outstanding balance that you forgot and it's on your report and that's impacting your credit score? So annualcreditreport.com is the website where you are actually able to go on once a year and receive a credit report from each of those agencies. So again, when we're thinking about how do we make sure that our credit is good, when we think about how important it is to save and shifting the mindset, all of these come into the equation. So make sure you get that annual credit report if you have not done so. So, and you must also have in place a debt reduction strategy. You have to have a financial strategy in place, but if you do not have a debt strategy in place, that means you would go borrow money for no reason. You have to know in advance, before you take out a loan or get involved in debt, you need to have in mind, why do I need it? What is the debt for? You are able to play a role in paying off your debt before you get it if you have a debt strategy in place. And part of the D-Free program, the D-Free strategy, is all about making sure that we move from debt to freedom. So again, a D-Free strategy, D-Free, all of that works together to change the mindset and to make our monies work for us. And when you look at the next aspect of what type of strategy do we need to have in place to change our mindset as a people? Not only should we be having those very, very sensitive conversations with our relatives around their finances, but we should also be looking at what's important when it comes to being able to protect our loved ones, to build wealth. Protection strategy is key to any type of wealth building strategy. By that, I mean, when we look at protection strategy, what's the first thing that we look at? We want to look at what product out there can protect and build wealth for us. Life insurance. Is there life insurance in your household? And if it is, do you understand the importance of what life insurance is protecting? Life insurance addresses your need for insurance for your loved ones. It's not for the dead. Life insurance is for the living. And when you think of what purpose life insurance can serve, well, number one, if you're not here today or tomorrow, your loved ones are still left behind with your daily expenses. Your loved ones are still left behind with that mortgage. Your loved ones are still left behind trying to plan for the children's education. If there's a spouse involved, your loved one is still left behind. Maybe she was dependent on your retirement income. These are all things that life insurance can take care of if you have a life insurance protection strategy in place. And life insurance can help safeguard your children's future by keeping the college funds intact. It'll protect your family's lifestyle because that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for anything glamorous. You're looking to maintain the lifestyle your family currently have now if you're not there. And the only way you can do that is by protecting your loved ones with a strategy. And that strategy is life insurance. And then when you think of life insurance, how do I know how much life insurance I need? Well, we have what's called a quick estimator, which will gauge you with some idea of how much insurance you may need. And the handouts will be available after the presentation. But when you look at that estimator, it's basically saying if you have a income coming in and your salary is a certain dollar amount, if you have minor children and you need to protect that income for your children, you need to pay for the college, you need to make sure you cover those final expenses, multiply that information, and you'll come up with a number that's basically going to say, you need this amount of life insurance to protect and ensure your family is able to maintain that same lifestyle. Building wealth, the pursuit of building wealth and minimizing debt. That's what life insurance allows you to do. Now, when you think of the different types of life insurance, well, you have two types basically. You have permanent and you have term. Think of permanent as a home. You own a home, and think of term as you rent. One is for a limited period of time, and so it's less expensive. And the other is for a permanent or longer period of time, and you can obtain it with different options, such as building cash value, covering critical care needs, being in the market, being invested in the market. All of those are options that are available to you when you look at what do I have, what can I get with life insurance? So again, the different types of policies are there for you. All you have to do is change your mindset and understand that it is now time for you to make some decisions about what meets your family goals. Now, when we look at the next and the last part of our discussion, it's going to deal with the different types of investments to build the wealth. If I can get this to move. So when we think about building wealth and we think about investment that you're able to actually use, there are different types of investments that you can use to build wealth. We mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. You can have basic savings accounts. You can have what's called certificates of deposits. That's whereby you go to a bank and a bank will offer you a higher rate than a savings account for a certain period of time. And there'll be penalties involved if you decide to pull those funds out earlier. Also, there are individual stocks you can purchase. With the stock market erratically right now, I think our presentation before mine talked about the volatility of the market. And the key takeaway from that was make sure that you are in the market, because you cannot build wealth if you are not in the market. You can pull it out, you can put it on the side, you can let emotion step in, but when that good day comes and the market go back up, if you pulled it out, you've lost your opportunity to regain and grow that wealth. So again, you can invest in the stock market, you can invest in bonds. You could also invest in what's called mutual funds. Mutual funds is a combination of stocks and bonds. That's another type of investment that we quite often as a people don't get involved with enough. It's diversified. It's not FDIC insured like a savings account, but it gives you an opportunity to be in the market with lower risk. And then another form of investment are your retirement accounts, your individual IRA account, your Roth account. You as a business owner, as entrepreneurs, you should be investing in self-employed retirement. Do not just be an entrepreneur and not put money towards your retirement, because then you will end up having to pay for your own retirement at some point. So again, you have employer retirement plans. If your employer offers you the opportunity to invest in a 401k or 403b, take advantage of it. Invest in it. If your employer matches those funds, by all means, make sure whatever amount you put in that retirement account is minimally what your employer matches. If you do not take advantage of that match, you are leaving money on the table. So I cannot emphasize that enough. Participate in your employer 401k plan. If you're not sure of how to allocate it, speak with a financial professional. We're out here today to answer those questions. We can help you reallocate your retirement accounts through your employer. We can help you reallocate your account through brokerage or different investment accounts you have. That's what we do. And last of all, annuities. Annuities are another form of investment that you're able to participate in. So, and that's if you're looking for guaranteed income. Speak to us about that. That can serve as that third source of income when it comes to retirement and having a guaranteed bucket coming into you. So our takeaways for building your wealth is, again, we have to change our mindset. We have to. We have to create a spending plan. We must make sure our credit report is always up to date, and we're checking our credit score religiously to make sure we are as close to that 800 number as we can in order to get better and lower rates of interest. We must also make sure we address the debt. Don't create debt if we do not need it. Also, start investing and do it with a plan. You must invest and you must do it wisely. And investing, I repeat, is not saving. In order to build wealth, you must be invested. And last, start planning for your legacy. Start planning for your children's children. That's what it's about, the future generation. We, as a people, must look forward to building wealth, making sure we leave something for the next generation, and we have to change our mindset that say they'll make it on their own. They may make it on their own, but the whole point is, if you can build wealth today and you can transfer it to the next generation, you have achieved a goal that we've been striving for so long. So again, those are my basic takeaways from this session. We had limited time, so I wanted to make sure that you were able to, oh, the slide came back up. So again, you can see everything I just repeated. Change your mindset, create that budget, address your debt, run your credit report, go to that annualcreditreport.com website, start investing it, do it wisely, do it consistently, be intentional about it, and start planning for your legacy and begin to build your wealth and your assets. That's how we as a people can create wealth and continue to let it build for us.